Welcome to SubQulture with Jetspace magazine, your portal to the world of queer music, arts, and media. This is your host, Nome, along with my co-host.
Hi, it's me, Sam. I'm here.
Last Friday, I went to Elevator's event at Kremwerk with Iv Timor, Juliana Huxtable, and Gaika, who unfortunately wasn't able to attend the show. They happened to get stuck in San Francisco because they lost their passport, which was a big disappointment. Unfortunately, it wasn't the only disappointment. There was quite a lot of controversy that happened that night. Although I missed the first two DJ sets because out of a handful of queer and trans friends that ended up leaving, I stuck around outside for quite a while to try and console one of them who was experiencing a lot of fear and anger because the space seemed to be dominated by mostly white male presence. That person, that friend of mine, is a transgender woman whom came out Friday night to see Juliana Huxtable. It was quite unfortunate that a lot of my queer friends at this queer nightclub felt uncomfortable and taken out of place, or that they didn't belong there. One of my friends encountered another guest who was non-POC whom put their hands in their face or like jabbed them in the eye or something like that, and then proceeded to like grab them by their shoulders, and then my friend had to like pry the person's hand off of their own shoulder to get away from them, and then ended up leaving. There was another friend of mine who was just completely uncomfortable and left. It was just really unfortunate because the performance was fantastic, and Juliana's set was, fantastic as well. And I felt like the people who would have come to see them because they identify with them were displaced. Yeah, I don't know, it was just really, really wild and crazy, and I don't really know what to say. It was kind of really unexpected. My friend, who is a transgender woman, was very excited to come out and see Juliana Huxtable DJ as a fellow transgender woman, as my friend's main priority is to facilitate space for queer POCs and transgender POCs. It's just really unfortunate that they felt so uncomfortable going out to see a fellow artist do the amazing things that they do and be the amazing person they are, and to be surrounded by people that make them feel uncomfortable and that they don't belong, so they have to leave the establishment. I think the demographic that dominated last night was void of accessibility, especially for transgender Black and brown women and queer POCs and even non-POC queers. I think there's a lot of things that need to go into actually having a safe space, and as far as people who are the administration behind events and clubs that are targeted towards queer audiences, I think that there needs to be more responsibility and knowing who you're allowing into your spaces, and if someone may be cis-passing, that they should be aware of their privileges and have the humanity to allow others to be seen as they present, and also communication, especially consenting communication with others.
Was there did the staff intervene in any way, or was this all just kind of like nobody did shit?
No, I don't think that the staff was really down in the club, and it was so many people there that I don't think they would have really been able to do very much. I don't think they were in the correct places, but had they been, the circumstances I don't think really were. It was like a perfect storm in a sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, the security didn't do anything. I don't know that anyone told them either. I feel like the queers who were there voiced their opinions and experiences to each other, and then kind of removed themselves from the equation.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think that spaces, particularly like nightlife spaces that sort of economically cater towards queer audiences, audiences of like marginalized people, do you think those spaces have a responsibility to kind of make those like safe?
Well, of course, I think that they should have a responsibility to make them safe. The measures that they go through are more tokenizing than actually like solutions. to some of the problems that I know happen to be aware of. Because I wrote a status and I ended up getting comments from people who work at the nightclub, and they seem very adamant about trying to solve the problems. Although I think that just putting black and brown people as like attendants there doesn't really like make it go away. There's still going to be these situations where the actual audience is not aware of the mixture between the scenes that's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
The behavior I feel like that they present versus like queer behavior, people who are constantly prevalent in different areas of Seattle and like not just come out for these certain or particular events. I don't know, and like swarms. I have no idea. To answer your question, yes, I think that they should be responsible. I don't think that what they're trying to do is a solution though, and I think it's tokenizing for those that they involve that could be put in other places to actually have voices and be doing things that make sure that stuff like this can be avoided.
Because like, let's get real, this is not like the only time that something like this has happened or will happen again.
Of course, yeah, not to single out this club or anything. It's definitely a widespread event. I think that specifically the security could have been more aware of the fact that the audience needs to be watched, you know, like regardless of whom's there. Their job is to actually maintain and secure the area. Sure, it's in their job description somewhere. I think that the club could be more vocal about how it identifies and its policies. I think with those two steps, we've already been a little bit more ahead of the game and prepared for last night. I don't know if that's like an absolute truth, if there is any. The people whom experienced the worst side of last night, I think, should be able to voice their opinions to that club and hope that in the future they'll be able to figure something out on their end, because it's their responsibility to provide that safe space and not the responsibility of the people attending the event who are paying to be there.
Yeah. I think that's like the most grating thing too sometimes with not just this particular venue, but these kinds of issues, is that it's like, if you're gonna take people's money, like if you're gonna benefit by being like, this is a night where whether it's explicitly stated or whether it's not explicitly stated, like when, you know what I mean, like when you're looking at that bill, you're not like, this is a bill for like straight white cis dudes from like Bellevue.
Right, you can recognize.
You know the crowd that's coming out, and I think it's really galling to see people like economically profiting off of those kinds of events without like offering a place for safety.
No, I agree. I think that there is like an extreme like white gaze, like maybe like this is general, just like, I mean, I could say like over the entire world, but specifically our region in the world and in entertainment and media. And I think that if we don't try and remove that by like actually target marketing people of color, or if you're going to book an all black bill and have an entire room filled with white bodies, especially possibly male white bodies, then I don't think that that's like a successful night, to be honest. And I think that what happened is a direct result of all the things that went into putting that together. I think, I don't know, to be honest, like I don't know if there's one solution to fix all. But I definitely think that putting more people of color, black and brown people of color, and queer especially, because the entire bill was flaming, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that would really put the voice out there where it needs to be, and people would see that it's not just this one-sided space, and that it has multiple dimensions to it, and it's diverse and not like universe or whatever.
Because you are someone that works in nightlife and promotion, and also because, I mean, shout out to Darkness, because you obviously do a lot of work with them. So I'm curious, like, what are the sort of like the issues that what are the sort of issues that you guys face? Because I know members of the Darkness Collective have talked in like the press and stuff about the difficulty of trying to establish spaces for queer like POCs in Seattle. Like, do you want to talk about your experience with that at all?
As far as my experiences with queer nightlife and POC safe spaces, whether it was with darkness or in New York City or even in Columbus, Ohio, the safe spaces that I'm familiar with were so heavily powered by Black and brown bodies that there wasn't like we accidentally only invited like strictly white people or something.
Yeah.
If anything, there were just like a mix of people, and it felt equal at its most intersectional. And we're highly conscious of the fact that we can't just invite everyone, and we're not just trying to like make money off of it. Sometimes we like barely break even, but we do it because we're trying to facilitate space and claim space to be visible and to be seen and to be heard, and not just to make money. So I feel like it's kind of unfair because those people are doing it, I think, for different reasons and why we're doing it. And I don't think that I know everything about it either, because it's like a process to learn it as it goes. But it's a struggle for us to find venues at times.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the train a little bit.
Where we might have one event at Washington Hall or Hillman City Collaboratory, and the people who are allowing us to claim this space can love our event, but next month it's not going to be available for us to be there. So we're constantly moving around, and we're constantly trying to find places that are accessible for people and that aren't these like havens for people to like get away with shit they're not supposed to be doing. They're like, I feel like, more well-respected places because they're community-driven or have to do with like the arts in like a recreational type of way. So have you experienced any issues with intersectionality in nightlife or at any clubs here in Seattle?
It's sort of, I don't know, it's sort of difficult to say because like in person, if you don't hear my swishy voice, or like if you're not talking to me, I don't know, maybe visibly, like if you saw me from across the room, like I gesticulate very largely, so like but when you see me walking down the street, like I'm a white dude with a beard, you know, and like I wear like denim jackets, and I like sort of like look relatively, you know what I mean, like I don't ever get harassed. I have friends that have gotten harassed on the street. I never get harassed. I don't know if that's because
you look like a lumberjack.
I don't know if that's because I look like a lumberjack. I don't know if that's because it's like people are just like, I'm not even gonna fuck with that kid because he obviously has no money, and like no, like I'm not even gonna like screw with that. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. For whatever reason, I don't get like messed with a whole lot. But there are definitely spaces where I, as a person who is not, there are definitely spaces where I don't really feel comfortable all the time, and I think that's a big failing in my mind of the Seattle like nightlife scene. Everything feels very fractured. I think things feel very like tribalistic, and I can't speak to any others. I don't know if it's the same everywhere you go, but it feels like there are certain bars that it's like when I go to, there are certain bars, we're not going to name names because I'm not going to put any bar on blast like that.
We'll just put the cross streets. What
are the cross streets? Oh, I don't know. I think the Pike Pine corridor, you know who you are. There are definitely bars that it's like, I'm not this like built, like jacked muscle daddy, so I definitely don't feel comfortable going. And I feel like I get up down every time I go in. Or like there are definitely bars that like I've gone into, and because I'm not like thin and like I'm not like some thin twink, so like I definitely don't feel super comfortable going in there. You know what I mean? Like I think that it's hard, particularly in spaces that are occupied predominantly by like white cis gay men. You know, I think that there's just there can be a weird vibe from time to time, and I think some of that has to do with the fact that there's a historical trauma that like I think people are still really working through, right? Like I think all queer people are still like working through this sort of like historical trauma of like oppression for being queer, you know, like adding.
Sometimes we take it out on each other.
For sure, and like I think so there's some internalization of that. I think there's also like for queer people of a certain age, I think there's like the trauma of like the AIDS crisis is like still a very real thing, and sort of the part that like creating space really played in the AIDS crisis and in building like support systems during that for people that didn't have like familial support, or you know what I mean, like
Right.
so it's like I understand that there's this sort of lingering idea that like these are our space, you know what I mean, like there's this like lingering thing where I think a lot of spaces for like white gay men where there's this idea that it's like we like this is our space and we like really fought for this, and so there's a sense of there can, you know what I mean, like
I think I understand what you're saying. I think it's unfortunate. I've been using that word a lot. Unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate that the landowners or the banks here or something in Seattle don't want anyone to do anything cool or new with space.
Yeah, for real.
They want to keep it stagnant or be able to know where everything's being trafficked. And I think that's unfortunate because I could see that if maybe it wasn't so tense or strict in that way regard, that maybe people would be more easy to like relinquish what's considered their power to others in like a community type of way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just definitely. I think there are some bars in town that some clubs in town that do a decent job, and I know for a fact are like trying to do better. I think I've noticed that there are like a lot of, you know, like quote like gay bars, like quote unquote gay bars that have, I think historically probably their clientele has tended to be like white gay dudes that have like really been trying to vary their programming, and really I think trying to hand over the reins of programming to people that aren't cis white dudes. And
well, yeah, that's exactly, I think the issue is that they're not passing the baton to anyone that's radically different, but is still within the umbrella of their understanding. And even if they're not under the umbrella, like they can, like older people can also learn as well.
Totally. Yeah, I think maybe that's like some of it too. Is it's like kind of getting back to what you were saying about this bar where this incident occurred that we will not put on blast, but off record we will. You don't really, you know, it's like it's hard to know like what to do to. You know, it's like this is a whole like mess of like bullshit, like a historical bullshit, historical oppressive bullshit, and it's like how do you fix that in one like little tiny specific instance?
Right.
But it does seem, at least to me, that a great deal can be done just by like handing the programming reins over to like, you know what I mean, over to like POC, over to not cis people, over to...
Or having like an ambassador of like the club who can represent, depending on who's performing or being presented, and like being able to strategize the audience demographic, and is the one who kind of is like doing rounds and like making sure shit's cool. I know that the club used to have someone do that, but I don't think they do anymore, so maybe that's why. And it's a weird turbulence. Not as an excuse, but
maybe it's just
I think that they used to do that.
Yeah, I just think like structurally from the clubs or the spaces that I've seen that I think have been making some kind of progress, I think, you know, I think that's what I've seen. Like for instance, there is a specific bar that I'm thinking of, and I know, and oftentimes when you go in the specific bar, it's like this, it feels like it's different DJs, but it feels like the same person is DJing a lot of times. But I also know that this bar, I've also seen that this bar has recently tried, they're not nearly where they should be probably, or like they're not where they should be to be like, you're good, but definitely they've been making steps to do more nights that aren't just the same kind of thing and aren't catering to the same, you know, demographic. And I think that the way that they've accomplished that is that they've recruited some more people to come in and DJ that aren't the same group of people that are always doing it.
I think that goes back to kind of tokenizing people though, because they're still not given any more power than anyone else has, or the ability to like nurture something new into the realm of their existence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I can see what you're saying, that they're trying, but it's like it's like your grandpa gave you like 3 pennies and he's like, tomorrow I'll give you 4 pennies.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I don't know, it's not about money essentially, but it's like giving someone power to do anything. It's not really significant enough. And I know that everyone maybe is experiencing like an economic crisis in some some result, but I don't think that it's impossible to do bigger things in like certain intervals to like not destroy your business's foundation while still actually providing this experience that they're trying to reach, and not using excuses to say, oh, we did this, even though it's like
that makes sense.
the littlest.
Like, oh, we did this one hip hop night, so we're cool.
Yeah, no. And then treating the people who like organized and promoted and flyered and all this stuff like they did nothing, and dragging them for their coins, and then giving them half of the coins they promised and all of this stuff, while other people seem to get to do whatever they please, and they're throwing events where people are stepping on queer people essentially and watching Black entertainment while not even appreciating anything really about it except for their experience. This is just kind of what I feel like I keep like reliving in my head. It's super weird. Yeah, I don't know what piece of advice to give any of these people running these clubs, other than that I think they need to have more of a power exchange and like an ego death or something.
Like a Jungian ego death. Is it Jungian or Freudian? That's Freudian. I don't know. But an ego death.
Yeah. That's all the time we have today. Thanks for listening to SubQulture on Jetspace Magazine. You can find our podcast on iTunes if you would like to subscribe. Talk to you later.
See ya.